Grayson. Hello, Mrs. Turner.
Hi, I'm Sean.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Turner. You have a beautiful home.
She is a godsend.
I was expecting someone older, less weird.
We hope you'll treat our house as your home. I'm sure you and Jericho will form an instant bond.
She's cool with everything. She knows the situation.
Do you know who you welcomed into your home?